Hello! It's a miniaturised technology special, by which I mean we've got some devices that are smaller than they usually are. The first is a projector. Let me tell you about projectors. Right, I do a fair bit of public speaking, and for said engagements I need a projector. And the thing about venues are, well, actually the first thing about venues generally is that their mics don't work. That's like a universal thing almost completely. But secondly, they'll always have somewhere you can project onto, but frequently their projector will be broken or non-existent. So then you have to get somebody to bring in some hideous old thing with a VGA connector that makes a noise like a Harrier jump jet taking off as soon as you turn it on, or you have to rent one in and it costs a fortune, and blurg, I say, it's all crap. So people have said to me, hey, they get these really small, like really compact modern projectors these days, why don't you try one of those? Well, because I don't know anybody with one, and they cost hundreds of pounds to buy, and in my experience they've always been a bit shite, so I didn't really want to spend a lot of money on one. But then, out of the blue, a company called iCodis contacted me and said, would you like one of our small projectors for review? So I was like, ting! Too bloody right I would. Now I can try one out. And here is indeed the one they sent, an iCodis CB-400. Sadly, the CB does not mean it's a Citizens Band radio, but it does do projection. And I've been carting it around and using it as a bit, as you can tell by the scratches on it and all the horrible gunk there left by a piece of duct tape. So, it's got a fan in it to cool it down. There we are, that's all you needed to know, isn't it? No, the obvious things here. I think there's a grill and there's the bulb and the thing that projects the image out. This is all important. There is your focus. Again, that's quite important. There, that was exciting, wasn't it? Now the actual useful stuff. So, you can connect VGA and AV to it through one of these box-out things. Not that I care too much for that. You've got a micro SD card slot. You can plug HDMI. Now that is the thing that I need. Also, there's a USB 3 slot, a USB 2 slot. Basically, you can have an awful lot of different things plugged into this, which is handy. Also, it's fully Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff, so you can actually throw stuff to it from your phone and things, because it has its own Android operating system thing going on, which I'll show you in a minute. So, it weighs about just over half a kilogram, about 600 grams, which isn't much of anything for this kind of thing. It spits out 720p video, or well, a 720p image, let's say, but it can handle inputs of 1080p, but it will downscale it all automatically. Loads of connections, which you already saw. It's the brightness, right, ready for the number nobody will understand, 3000 lumen. If you know what that means off the top of your head, you work very closely with projectors. And the contrast is 10,000 to 1, so you know you can actually see the colours and things. Also, it will project 3D. When you've got special glasses or something, but I give not two hoots about that, because frankly 3D from a television is usually immensely disappointing and shite, and I don't really need to be getting it from a projector as well. There's also a built-in battery, which in my testing gave about 2.5 hours, but I didn't like it very much because it makes the projection dimmer. And the thing about a projector is you want it to be as bright as possible. So for professional engagements, I've always had it plugged into the mains with this adapter. Look, there's the bit that plugs in. Yeah, so it adds a little bit to your bag when you're carrying it. But let's face it, if you've got a projector, you want to be having it plugged into the mains. Right, let's turn it on then, and you can see kind of what it's like. Here is my very expensive screen, which I have had made by artisans out of a sheet of A4 paper. So, you switch it on here. That's good, isn't it? Then you hold this button in, and it will now turn on and fire up the operating system, which will... Oh, good God, that's brighter than I thought. Let's focus it in. Hang on. I'm going to have to move this up, I think. Now, you'll notice this is looking... Oh, God, you're going to get a lot of rolling, because it's operating at different frame rates to the camera there. Let's zoom in a bit. Is it nice and sharp? No, not quite. We can focus that a little bit. There we are. That's plenty good enough. Also, remote control, which I should show you, which is very useful. Really, the exciting bits on it are the up, down, left, right, and select. You can also do volume very easily, for it does have its own built-in speakers, which aren't amazing. They're not, so it gets a fair bit loud, but really, if you want anything coming out of a projector, especially in a big hall or something, you will be using the old headphone socket there. Right, I've just noticed a small problem in that really, we want this to be a bit flatter against the back of the sofa, don't we? Right, I'm going to jump cut and fiddle with that. There we go, that's better. I've also turned off the 2 side lights to simulate the sort of darker environment you would have when using a projector, but I've left the top one on because you're never in any room that's completely pitch black, are you now? So yes, this is the built-in Android gubbins. I haven't really used it a terrific amount. I mean, why you'd want to view Twitter on it, I don't know. I've basically gone in and used the HDMI, and that's pretty much it. I have tested it out, and it played YouTube videos fine, and it played anything I plugged into it fine, and it was all hunky-dory, really. Now, an important thing is if you go into the settings, and I think it's in DLP settings, yes. Now you'll see it's horribly skewed at the sides. This is known as keystoning, and it's something you need to fiddle with in order to actually flatten it out, because a projector is very rarely going to be face on to the screen. It's usually going to be a bit above or below it, so it needs to be altered. Now, I found the auto keystoning that this has to be absolutely useless. It didn't give anything. I mean, it altered it. Well, it made it a little bit better, I suppose, but nowhere near good enough to actually use. That is my big complaint, actually. However, the manual keystone works absolutely fine. Let's get it down. I've got a fairly extreme angle. And there we are. And now to you, actually through the viewfinder it still looks off, but to me it looks perfect, and I'm the important one in this situation. No, seriously, yeah, that works fine. It's a bit of a shame that the auto keystone is kind of shite, but on the other hand it takes about 20 seconds to alter it, and I don't trust these auto things anyway, so I can live with that. And I'm now going to actually turn this off for the simple reason that the rolling will be really bad for your eyes. I apologise. It's not like that in real life. It all looks nice and normal, obviously. Right, jump cut again. There we are, that's better. Right, so I gave this a fairly extreme test a few weeks ago. In fact, about as extreme as they get, really. I did a live show at the Arts Theatre in London, and I used this as the projector, and it worked absolutely fine. Right, I just stuck it on this crappy Poundland projector, pointed it at the screen, keystoned it, focused it, plugged my laptop into the HDMI, and away I went. And yeah, it was all just really bright and really clear and absolutely perfect for what we needed. I had the house lights pulled right down to pretty much zero, because to be honest, I didn't trust it to be bright enough, but as I discovered after the show, that was pretty much unnecessary, actually. I could have had them considerably brighter, because it did do a really good job with the old lumens there. We had it, what, about 2.5 metres back from the screen. Screen was 3 metres, it filled the whole thing. Yeah, it just passed with flying colours, really. I was genuinely very impressed. In fact, reviews I've looked up for it online all said, oh, it's really good, and I cannot disagree with them. It just does the job, and it does it well. And it's about 370 quid on Amazon at the moment, which is expensive if you don't need a projector, but if you do need a projector and you want something portable, this will do your job. I appreciate that's a fairly niche market, but you can't complain when you can get something small, cost-effective, that does the bloody job. So well done, iCodis. I like this thing and will be using it considerably in the future. Tell you what I won't be bloody using, though, this thing. Right? Bought this, you plug this into your laptop, and then you can control forwards and backwards on PowerPoint when you're showing slides and stuff. And look, even has a laser pointer. Ooh, lasers, which is handy. Tell you what it doesn't do, bloody work properly. Yeah, I mean, you're pressing it, and half the time it doesn't work, and the other half you press it, and it shoots forward too, because it's like remember to press you did half an hour ago. Bloody useless. I think I'm going to look up like a cheap Chinese alternative and see if it works better. But anyway, yes, portable things. Look how small it is compared to this DVD. Oh, what DVD is this? The Darkest Dawn? Gee, I'll bet you could buy that for a few pounds from Amazon right now. Gee, I wonder who's in it. Oh, look. It's a certain man from YouTube who was in a film called Ashens and the Quest for the Game Child. That's right, Mawan Rizwan is in this film. And what a man he is. Good old Mawan. Let's tickle his chin. I'm in it as well, though. Don't let that put you off. No, the reason I mention this is the producers of the film have actually given me 5 copies to give away in a competition. So if you're interested in that, I'll mention it at the end of the video. Anyway, next item. So, while we are looking at teeny tiny little electronic devices that are actually quite good here in our miniaturised area, there's a reference to 90s British comedy nobody's going to get, I'm going to show you this. It is a lump of the aluminium stuff, well, probably some sort of magnesium alloy thing, as they mostly are, aren't they? There are no logos or identifying marks on the top, but look at the side. There is a nothing. But there's a hinge, and there's little rubber feet, and there's holes for ventilation, and there's USB Type-C, and there's that little HDMI that's really annoying. What is that? HDMI Type-D? Micro HDMI? I can't remember. Headphone socket, and USB 2 port, because yes, indeed, it's a teeny tiny little laptop, only 7 inches across, made by GPD. Which stands for a thing that I really can't remember off the Gamepad Digital. There we are. I remembered. Hooray! Soon covered that one up. Yeah, a Chinese company that previously produced like a little clamshell Android tablet with full controls on it, which was quite a good little device. I wasn't that massively keen on the gamepad, but it's not bad. I would show it to you, but I can't find mine at the moment. I think I've lent it to somebody or something. And also they then made the GPD Win, which was like a version of it that ran Windows and had a bit more oomph to it for sort of Windows games. And this is the next version along, and it is basically a really small laptop that will run either Ubuntu or Windows 10. What more do you want out of life? Answer, probably quite a lot of things. So you may be wondering why on earth I would want, and indeed back the crowdfunding campaign of, the world's smallest bloody laptop. Look how sharp the screen is. Well, the reason is, actually, it was so I could write my last book on the go, because it's still got a keyboard you can actually type on, takes up bugger all space, but most importantly, will run all the weird, obscure Windows programs I use for emulation and all the other bits and bobs. And it turned out to be super useful. So let's give you some details on it then. It was about £300 in money, not in weight. But if you want to buy one now, the campaign is finished and you're just sort of buying them as normal. They're about £400, so sorry about that. You should have backed it early if you wanted one or something, I don't know. But yeah, there's about 7 inches across. It's got your full keyboard, which isn't the most wonderful thing in the world to type on, but you can actually type on it, which is all well and good and useful. Also, there's the Microsoft picture of a goat. I mean, you can't really argue with that. I do query some of their choices of keys, though. Like, do we really need a specific mute key when you've got such limited key space? That's a bit odd to me. And you control via... Wait... I was thinking, I'm pretty sure this doesn't have a built-in microphone, and yet there is a microphone symbol. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, you can control your cursor. There we are, it is moving, using one of these little track point things, or nipples, as we used to call them back in the day, which is actually not a bad method of moving stuff around the screen, but it's also touchscreen, so that's more useful in itself, isn't it? Technical details, I suppose. The CPU is one of the later Intel Atoms, one of the ones that, you know, Windows 10 is supporting down the line. Runs at 1.6 gigahertz, will burst up to 2.56, I believe. It's got 8 gig of RAM, which surprised me, that something this small would have 8 gig when even, you know, some of the more impressive tablet things have like 4, don't they? So, didn't most of the Microsoft Surface have 4? Don't quote me on that, I can't remember. The screen is 1920 by 1200, so slightly bigger than 1080p, and due to how small it is, it looks so sharp it's unbelievable, as you would expect, because let's face it, we all have super sharp screens on our phones right near our faces these days. You can't get away with a low res in this day and age. It's about 323 pixels per inch, I believe. And it's not 16 by 9, it's 16 by 10, isn't it? 1920 by 1200. Really wish I'd checked that beforehand. If it's wrong, please abuse me in the credits. I'm sure you will. And by the credits, I mean the comments. Oh, God. I'm not doing well with C words today. That could end badly. Yeah, annoyingly, there's no support for, you know, the proper pens you can use on the touchscreen, which is a shame, because that would have been quite a useful thing, I would have thought, on this. Mind you, could you really hold it flat? Maybe I'm quibbling for no reason there. Storage is 128GB eMMC thing, which is like a SSD but much smaller and not as quick. I did run a test, actually. Let me check my piece of paper with the result on. It's read at 130 megabytes a second and wrote at 80, which isn't too bad, actually, with this kind of thing. Graphics were Intel HD Graphics 405, I believe, which are sort of all right. I mean, you can literally run Skyrim on it if you want, with low settings. Not entirely sure why you'd want to do that. You probably want to plug a mouse in, but there we are. That's it, really. It's a little laptop, innit? It's got Wi-Fi and it's got Bluetooth, and the speakers are quite good, actually. Sound comes up through the keyboard, which is a positive. Pretty loud, not a terrific amount of bass to it, but it doesn't sound that bad at all. It sounds better than my bigger laptop, actually, which annoys me intensely because it's much more expensive. And the battery life... Wait for it. The manufacturers say 12 hours. However, that's utter bollocks, because in my testing and using it, I got about 6 hours out of it. So there you go. And there's no webcam or anything. If you can see a little sort of dent in here, that's actually where I put a screen protector on, and there's a bit of dirt underneath it. So that's good, isn't it? But yeah, I won't insult you by showing you how a Windows PC works. I'm sure you all sort of have a rough idea of that. Look, here is a desktop for the guest that is using this. That's good, isn't it? It's got that picture of the tent. Look, it's high def and all that kind of thing. But there we are. I thought you would be quite interested in this. I should do some more Kickstarter stuff. I've got all sorts of weird action figures and things which I'm quite pleased with. And other things I am less pleased with. And some things that they never delivered, because, hey, that's bloody crowdfunding, innit? But no, I've got incredible use out of that. I'm really chuffed with that as a thing. There we go. And, of course, it does have the added bonus of, if I'm going somewhere and need to take the projector, I can take the computer to plug into it to run the PowerPoint or whatever, and it only takes up that much room. Why? It's barely bigger than this Blu-ray copy of the critically acclaimed 2013 comedy adventure Ashens and the Quest.
Subscribe for more.